Have you ever just looked at your insurance bill and wondered what is really going on in the insurance world in Trinidad and Tobago? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain. We're going to decode the costs, question the promises, and dig into the biggest problems you face as a customer. And we're doing it all with some pretty revealing data. Let's get right into it.
All right, let's just start with the big question, the one that's probably on a lot of people's minds. Is insurance in TNT a ripoff? You know, it's a feeling a lot of us have, and it's pretty much the central issue we're going to tackle in this explainer.
And look, that feeling, it makes total sense. You pay your premiums, you're diligent, month after month, year after year, for a service you really hope you never, ever have to use. And the frustration kicks in when you hear all these stories about claims being denied or payouts being way too low. It just makes you wonder if that protection you're paying for is actually going to be there when it really, really counts. So to really understand this industry, we first have to know who's calling the shots. Who are the major players that are really controlling the insurance market here in Trinidad and Tobago? The entire landscape is best described by this one term, market concentration. It's a really key concept. All it means is that instead of having dozens of companies fighting hard for your business, the market is actually dominated by just a handful of huge firms. And this slide, well, it shows you exactly what we're talking about. I mean, look at this. The top three groups, that's Guardian, Segacor, and TATIL, they control over 50% of the entire market. That level of control makes it incredibly difficult for any smaller, new companies to even try to compete. And that, of course, has a direct impact on the prices you pay and the service you get. Now, there is a powerful referee in this game, the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. The CBTT is the regulator. They're the ones who enforce the rules under the Insurance Act of 2018, and it's their job to make sure these huge companies are financially stable enough to actually pay out claims, especially after something big, like a major catastrophe.
Okay, now let's get to the number one thing that's on everybody's mind, the price. Why does it feel like your premiums are just climbing higher and higher every single year? Let's break down what's actually inside that number you pay.
It really boils down to three main drivers. First, there's something called global reinsurance. The easiest way to think about this is it's insurance for the insurance companies. Yeah, really. To cover a massive event like a hurricane, our local insurers have to pay huge international firms. So, as we see more disasters worldwide, that global price goes up. And you guessed it, that cost gets passed down to us. Second, local costs. TNT relies heavily on imports, so when the price of car parts or building materials goes up everywhere else, the cost to repair a car or a house here just skyrockets. And third, well, more claims are being filed. It's that simple, especially for motor insurance, thanks to things like way more traffic on the roads. So we know the market is dominated by a few big players and prices are definitely rising. But what happens when you actually need to make a claim? This, my friends, is where we see a huge conflict between what's promised and what people are actually experiencing. I mean, every insurer's website makes a pretty similar promise, right? This quote from Bankers Insurance is a classic example. They all talk about superior claim service and supporting you every step of the way. And it sounds great. It's the promise of a smooth, easy, hassle-free process. But what does the official data say? Okay, this is where the story gets really, really interesting. This isn't just opinion. This is hard data from the Office of the Financial Services Ombudsman, the official body for these kinds of disputes. In just 1 year, they got 315 complaints about insurance companies. Now look at the number for the entire banking sector, just 74. The difference is absolutely staggering.
Let's put that into perspective. Let's just boil it down to a number. For every one complaint that was made against a bank, there were over 4 complaints made against an insurance company. This isn't just a feeling people have. These numbers show there's a real systemic issue with how insurance claims and customer service are being handled.
So here's the crucial point, this kind of weird paradox. On one hand, the consumer experience is clearly strained. Complaints jumped 37% in just 1 year. But on the other hand, these major companies are financially rock solid. Top firms like TATIL have an A excellent rating for financial strength from agencies like AM Best. They absolutely have the money to pay claims. The data suggests the problem is in the process.
So, faced with this reality, we're talking high prices and a pretty challenging claims environment. How can you, the consumer, play it smart? Let's pivot from looking at all the problems to a clear, actionable strategy you can use.
You know, the most important shift in mindset is this.
Your goal shouldn't be to find the absolute cheapest policy out there. The cheapest premium can often come with the biggest headache when you actually need help. The real goal here is to find the best overall value, which is a mix of a fair price and proven reliability.
So here's your checklist. First off, prioritize insurers with a strong financial rating, something like an A from AM Best. This is your proof that they can handle a crisis. Second, you gotta read the fine print. Look for those crucial features like flood damage coverage or a waiver of excess. Third, ask about the value-added services. I'm talking about things like 24/7 roadside assistance that can be an absolute lifesaver. Fourth, bundle your policies. Combining your motor and home insurance with one company can often get you a really significant discount. And finally, and this is a big one, review your coverage every single year. Make sure it still fits your needs and that you're not overpaying for a vehicle that has lost some of its value.
So we'll end with this question for you. Now that you've seen the market structure, the things that drive up prices, and the real data on claims, it's time to look at your own policy. Is it true protection, designed to deliver value when you need it most? Or is it just a price you pay? The power to choose is yours. Thanks for watching.